And here comes our artillery. On today's mission, we have 4 platoons designated to attack this village. They've been receiving increasing amounts of harassing fire from the Russians that are hunkered down there. So German High Command has decided that this village is of strategic importance and must be wiped off the map. So, unfortunately, our German squads do not have any armored or artillery backup, but they do have 500 rounds of rocket artillery that's going to batter the civilian position. It's designed to pacify this population and eliminate any Russians or Russian personnel, civilian, friendly, or enemy from this village, because this is of German strategic importance. So, we're going to follow the squad into the village. They are assigned to assault it, and here comes our artillery. As our German squads approach the village, they come under harassing fire from the Russian opposition that currently occupies it. Even after the massive artillery barrage and rocket barrage, there is still heavy opposition that needs to be dealt with by our German platoons. The Russians, fortunately, are unable to find any sort of cover due to the massive barrage. Our Germans are easily clearing the village and doing the mission to pacify it. As it turns out, the Russians aren't going to give the village up without a fight. They have an armored battalion here that is decimating our German squads. As the German assault progresses, casualties begin to mount and their offensive begins to weaken. The Germans begin to call in secondary mortar strikes in order to destroy the rest of the Russian cover. Russian casualties continue to increase as the Germans are able to gain access to the village and find increasing amounts of cover. Unfortunately, tanks are still patrolling the outer grounds of the village, and the Germans need to eliminate the rest of the Russians located in this garden. This German squad made a fatal mistake. Instead of seeking cover on the left or the right, they decided to use the road, where they came across a Russian ambush, and later a Russian tank that slowly began to eliminate this squad. A Russian tank spotted a German squad out in the open, and he begins to hammer it with his cannon and machine gun fire. The German squad begins to lay smoke down and engage the tank with light machine gun fire. Smoke, fire, and blood have begun to obscure our infantry's vision, They become intermingled with the Russian troops and are taking casualties and becoming surrounded. The Germans did find a way to eliminate one of the tanks. This platoon of Germans have made a grave mistake. They've continued to engage these tanks out in an open field where they're at a huge disadvantage, and they're slowly running out of smoke grenades to provide themselves with cover. On the west side of the village, there's some scattered fighting, but this platoon's been rerouted to deal with the impending tank threat and the ongoing situation on the east side of the village. The German offensive on the west side of the village is beginning to look dire. Hopefully, the flank from the east side gets here shortly so we can eliminate these tanks. In an unfortunate turn of events, the Russian tanks have spotted our flank that is coming from the east side of the village. He is providing suppressive fire and is slowing down our assault. The tanks, in a fit of panic and distress, begin to crash into each other and run over each other. The German assault's winning. The village was far from pacified. However, losses began to mount on both sides, increasing the stalemate and only worsening the Germans' chances of securing the village. Germans continue to suppress the tanks with light rifle fire and mortar fire. The tanks begin to back out of the village, but unfortunate to the German surprise, there happens to be a battalion of flame tanks that have begun to clear the woods and the trees around them and set the troops ablaze. The fighting begins to intensify on the west side of the village. Mortar fire continues to suppress them, flame tanks continue to torch the Germans, and smoke and blood cover the battlefield. Unfortunately, the Germans need to retreat from this side of the village and secure the east side, and save this fight for another day.